us know what a dart is, right? This. Also, on a pattern, it shows up like this, or you can also see it like this one. So yeah, you might know what a dart looks like, and if you've been following me for any length of time, you know how much I love the dart. But did you know that there are other ways that darts are also included in our clothing? Today for Tricky Thursday, that's what I want to talk about. 5 ways that darts can be helpful and useful, and that they show up in other ways than just our regular old triangle dart. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trisha, your pattern nerd friend. I am the owner of Creative Custom Academy. One of my favorite catchphrases and sayings that I say all the time is that it's all about the dart. Everything really comes down to the dart, how it works, how we can move it around, how we can see things as a dart. I mean, I am just fascinated by that little triangular thing that happens in most patterns, and I really think that is the key to it all. A lot of people only know the dart as this little triangle. And that's fair, because that is a dart. But darts show up in so many different creative ways that I just thought we should talk about it today in case you never thought about it that way. If you're loving this kind of content, if you love learning about pattern making and having fun while you're learning it, and about fitting and sewing tips that I've learned over my 20+ year long career working in the entertainment industry, making costumes for big theatrical productions, please make sure and hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications so you know when I have a video that is going to drop, because I love sharing this stuff with you. I like to know what you want to know more about. First of all, let's look at the basic dart. The basic dart that most people know and love, have seen on their patterns that they may have been working with. That is the most common way that you're gonna know what a dart is. The cool thing about darts is that when you get into designing and you get into pattern making, the very first, most effective, most foundational, most important bit of information is that you can really move that dart anywhere you want to create a different design, and it doesn't affect the fit. So that's one thing that darts can do. So the cool thing about that is that I can take this and I can move it into many different places, like this. As we can see, Miss Susie is wearing a blouse. This is a basic bodice, but the darts go in towards the center as opposed to them going straight down in the normal pattern. So as you can see, by using a striped material, it completely changes the design, gives it a very different look. And if you look even closer, you can see that the darts on the skirt, instead of having traditional up and down darts, we've moved them to angle in towards the center, which is just a fun way to play with darts and get a little bit of a different design. But that's not what I want to show you. These are still darts that you really know. It's just a different position on the bodice. In fact, here is the pattern for this. It looks very similar to this one, except that we can see that our dart just moved positions. So, okay, maybe you're following me already, but I have a few other things that I want to show you in different ways that darts can show up. So I'm going to continue, but I think it might be easier to show you the patterns and how I'm really explaining these different things over on the table. So let's go over to the table and dive into where else might we be able to use darts to change up our designs in the way that they show up in clothes that you might not think that that's actually a dart. Probably the most common way that you see darts is in a seam. Now this is a bustier pattern, strapless, princess seamed, and your darts are actually in your seam. Let's take a look at the pattern and explain this a little further. So if we look at our princess seam pattern, this is what it looks like. This is my center front and this is my side front. Now if we put those two together, look, there's a dart that goes here and a dart that goes here. It could also, once you sew that, look at that. That looks very similar to our basic bodice dart, right? So that is another way that you can have a dart show up that you might not know or think of it as a dart. And looking at our front and back bodice, you can see that the darts also show up here. So yes, we have the darts in the individual pieces, but also at our side seams as well. So seams are another way that darts are useful and show up in ways you might not think about it as a dart. Another way that darts can show up is in gathers. See how we have these gathers here? So we still have our regular dart, but in order to get this extra fullness, this extra fabric to create this gather, we have to add darts in, is how I like to say it, to get the extra room so we can do a gather. So this is the pattern for the Susie top that she was just wearing. And in this case, our darts are rectangular, right? So we added in this extra space so that we could get the extra length that we want. But if you only wanted to add it in one area, then this would be adding a dart, adding a dart, adding a dart, because then we're not increasing the length on the side seam. So it's a little bit harder to really understand. And you can also take a regular pattern and turn that into a gather. So if you have gathers on your pattern in your clothing, that is also another way to see a dart. I wanted to talk about pleats. So this was the only example that I had in Susie's closet where I could show you a pleat. But a pleat is basically an unsewn dart. Now, this is a center back pleat, so it's a little bit different. And as you can see, it gives us extra room across the back of a top. But we just don't need all that extra room going into our yoke sometimes. So instead of sewing a dart so that we can keep this part full and have it meet into this yoke seam, we instead just catch it only where we need it, and that turns into a pleat, a center back pleat, which is another form of a dart again. And finally, I wanted to talk about different ways. Sometimes the dart can still be a dart on the pattern, and often the dart is there on the pattern. It just is sewn in a different way. This is called a tuck. It's a version of a dart, but notice how it just stops being sewn. It's a little hard to see on this striped material, but it just stops being sewn, leaving some extra fullness. It gives it a really interesting look. And actually, the top I am wearing right now has tucks, and this is a 1940s top. So see how it's taken in, below that, but then it kind of opens up above a certain point to give that extra room. It's just a different look at using those darts and using them in a different way. And this is actually the pattern for Susie's top that she's wearing. We still see the darts, but I know by the way that I've indicated the pattern that I'm only going to sew up until that far on each of those darts. So basically a tuck is a dart that is not all the way sewn up. And you can actually see it on the inside of my shirt. It's sewn up and then it's sewn across to close it off and give you that cool shape. So there you go. Let me know down in the comments if you didn't realize that that was a dart, or you saw it in a different way that maybe this opened your eyes to. I really hope so. If you love this kind of thing, if you like learning about darts and pattern making and everything else, then I hope you'll join me for my free pattern masterclass. That link is down below, absolutely free. You can try out my teaching style, see if it's for you. I just love sharing about this because I feel like it's so incredibly powerful. And there's more if you're wanting to dive in beyond that, but start with the free stuff, right? Why not? Once again, please give me a subscribe. It really helps my channel. Turn on those notifications, share with a friend, tell them about me if you think they would enjoy learning pattern making in the fun way. All right, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me this week for Tricky Thursday, and I'll see you next time.